I did that last year.
All right, everybody, welcome to Facebook Live. I'm Whitney, you know Danielle,
Hi.
founders of Sakara Life, and today you notice we have somebody else with us, the amazing
Dark hair.
yes, brunette, the amazing Dr. Aviva Romm. In addition to being on our Sakara Life Science Council, she is also a Yale medically trained doctor. She was a midwife for 20 years. She's one of the best experts when it comes to female health, knowing the body, knowing the hormones, and we're so excited because she has just launched her new book.
Yay!
And it's amazing. We're so excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
welcome.
Yes, welcome here to our couch, to our office.
It's really fun to be back, you guys.
It's great to have you here again.
Cool. So I thought maybe we could start out, since you just launched this book, Adrenal Thyroid Revolution.
Everybody needs to go check this out.
Yeah.
Gotta plug it
It's a game changer. So we're going to be speaking to a couple things tonight. We're going to be talking about, we worked with Dr. Aviva Romm on our Sakara Level 2, and then we're going to be speaking about her book. So I think it'd be really interesting to hear in your words, you know, why the adrenals, why the thyroid, what prompted you to focus on these two things for your book?
Yeah, so the adrenals and thyroid, if you think about what they're doing in your body, they're really controlling your metabolism, which means we think about metabolism as like calories and weight loss, but really metabolism is how you're burning energy. And so many of us are in overdrive, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're New Yorkers. We are definitely in overdrive.
Like the whole country is a New Yorker right now. It's really intense. And I was hearing so many women just saying the same thing over and over. I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out, I feel like I'm standing on the platform watching the train go by, but I don't have the energy to get on it. And really what starts to happen is that when your body starts to get overwhelmed and you're in this overdrive, guess what happens? In all the beautiful, brilliant wisdom, it's burnout. And your body goes, okay, well, I need to protect her because she clearly doesn't have the energy to keep up with what's going on.
Wow.
And we can adapt for a long time. So a lot of us are living in this place where feel like we're always on the edge of burnout, but then a lot of women have now crossed into burnout. So what happens when your body starts to say, wow, she's getting burnt out, it tries to protect you and it dials your energy down. So you're not spending as much energy, and so you're saving energy. And the way it does that is your adrenals are the ones going, okay, we're in a danger zone, and the adrenals communicate to the thyroid, partly through a hormone called cortisol, and say, we're in an energy crisis. What do you do in an energy crisis? You turn down the thermostat.
Yes.
And cortisol gets such a bad rap.
Yeah, it does. People call it the stress hormone, but I call it the survival hormone, because actually it's one of the only hormones, if you stop producing it, you will die.
Oh, wow.
So you could not produce thyroid hormone and you'd have hypothyroid and you'd have problems. You could stop producing estrogen, you'd get dried up and pruny and have no sex drive, but you don't die.
Right.
But if you stop producing cortisol, you actually die.
Wow.
So, and pretty quickly. Like people who are on steroids for a long time, if they stop taking them, they can go into adrenal crisis.
Oh my gosh.
So it's an amazing survival hormone, but when we have too much of it over too much time, it causes some problems. It's called the wear and tear hormone. So it can break down your muscle, it can break down your bone, it can sabotage your willpower and change your cognitive function. It can also, because of that whole energy crisis thing, your body's saying, okay, well, there's not enough energy, so we need to store every bit of extra energy this person gets.
That's where that belly fat comes
Exactly.
in, right?
It's exactly
That's
right.
why the cortisol and the
It's the
belly
bad
fat. Right.
Exactly.
Okay,
It's belly
that's making
fat
sense.
and it's cholesterol, because that's how we store energy. And the thing with belly fat, it's not just a muffin top, it's actually producing inflammation.
Is that like the visceral fat?
It is. Visceral abdominal fat. VAT. It's VAT fat.
That fat. That's the bad fat. That's the dangerous fat.
I love when these guys really do this. So great. So yeah, and visceral abdominal fat is fascinating because it does this other thing. It actually produces chemicals that talk to your brain. And it says to your brain, okay, she's still not getting enough energy. We need to make her crave more sugar. We need to make her crave more fat. And check this out. Carbs,
sugar,
fat, salt.
The types of energy, the types of foods that burn really quickly.
Exactly.
Give you a little boost of
Exactly.
energy. Okay.
And check this out. That fat does this crosstalk with your brain that actually makes sugar taste better. So it's not like I just need a muffin, but like
It's
Oh
like
my
actually
God, that
an
is the best
addiction.
muffin I've ever tasted in my life, and I want
Wow.
more and more. Mhm.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
fascinating.
it's trying to calm you down is what, and we all feel that. Like if you're really strung out,
Yeah.
and you take that
Or
bite of
hungover.
sugar, and you're
Yes.
like, but it only lasts a minute, and then you want more and more. We're just moving it.
There we go.
We're just
Sorry,
trying to
trying
fix
to
the
get-
camera. So what I think is so fascinating when you speak to these two things is we all know what the adrenals are. We've heard of them at least, and the thyroid too. But what you speak to in your book is so interesting, Olivia. Hey, but what I think is so interesting is that they really are like the sort of silent killers, I guess, or like, you know, you can not know that they're out of function or not working properly.
Exactly.
And I'm going to read your opening bit here because I just love it so much. So her opening bit says, to all women who have felt unseen and unheard, you are not invisible and you are not alone. To all who have been told it's all in your head, it is not. And to all who have felt like you've been sleeping for too long, rise and shine. Let's move mountains together. I love that so much, and I feel like it speaks to so many people. I mean, at Sakara, we get people that are, you know, tired and they don't know why, that are not sleeping well and they don't know why, and
Can't get pregnant and they don't know why.
yeah, and it's really the way we speak to it is really, you know, getting back to nutrition, getting out of those imbalances that you speak to.
Yes.
So I'd love to hear, you know, like what are the imbalances that we can look out for to know, you know, if we're...
What are the signs
Yeah.
that if we're reaching that burnout or if our body is trying to keep us alive during burnout phase?
Yeah, or even just the things to like pay attention to, like you talk about environmental stress. Like sometimes I think there are things that we don't even think of that are so important to that, you know, adrenal thyroid discussion.
Yeah, I think we're all living so 24/7. That's part of it, and so we're pushing and pushing way past what our boundaries are, and we're often just ignoring our bodies. So many women I know, you know, they don't go pee when they need to go pee. They don't eat when they're hungry, and then all of a sudden they're like hangry, you know, and I have to eat, and then you kind of have lost control over what you do eat because you're famished. You feel famished. They don't sleep when they need to sleep or rest. We tend to push past. So I think the first step for me is really just stopping long enough every day to pay attention to how we're feeling and are we nourishing ourselves. And I sometimes have to have kind of like this talk with my patients of like, okay, we've all got smartphones, let's put them to good use.
Yep.
Set an alarm for like 10 o'clock in the morning and set an alarm for like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and just check in. How are you doing? It's like a little quick check-in. I think any of the symptoms that you're feeling that you already know you're not living your best, right? You're dragging a little bit, you're having sugar cravings, your coffee cravings, you just kind of can't live without it. You're not going to the bathroom every day, not just peeing, but pooping. We should be pooping every day.
That's a big one for women.
Yeah, and a lot of it's just not even taking the time to stop and do it in the morning, right? You have like a normal body peace. Yeah.
Always on the go.
You can, or not on the go.
Yeah, or not on the go.
I know. I hear friends talk about that, like, that's their time to catch up on social media. So maybe some of you out there might be sitting on the toilet watching us right now.
It's very possible.
It's very possible.
We are not. We are honestly.
I have to say something
No judgment.
inappropriate every Facebook
I know.
Live. You know
yeah.
it's coming.
It happens to
I
me
like
too.
it. But
tired. Like, we think it's normal to be tired.
Yes.
Okay, if you have a newborn baby or you're pregnant, it's normal to be tired. And there are times in life where we're pushing hard because there's a book deadline or you're launching something.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we should actually not be tired most of the time. We should actually wake up with energy.
What a concept.
I know.
What
And
I
I think
know.
that's such a relief for most people. I mean, I always say this, but I'm always so surprised at how many people are okay just feeling okay.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason that is because they don't even know that feeling better is a possibility.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, what you do is you offer like this sense of hope that, you know, it's okay that you don't feel good. Like there are measures we can take, there's something we can do. So I think what happens is that, you know, and we were just talking about this before we started, but if you go to the doctor with, you know, fatigue or you're not sleeping well, traditional medicine says, you know, well, why don't we just prescribe you a sleeping medication or prescribe you something that, you know, keeps you up, and like Adderall that keeps you focused, and it's lacking the attention to the source. And I think people feel hopeless in that sense and like they have to turn to medication.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, physicians are not taught how to deal with these sort of common day-to-day chronic problems. And here's the thing is when we ignore those, this is how I think of it. I think of symptoms as our body's trying to tell us something.
Yep.
And the first little symptoms are just the imbalances. We all have them. I mean, we all have better days. We all have, harder days. And we adjust. And if you adjust and you replenish yourself, restore yourself, rest, you get right back on track. But if you keep ignoring the symptoms, it's like the little knock becomes a big knock. It becomes like a big honking horn, and eventually it becomes a medical condition. There are very few medical conditions. It can happen, like you have an accident or you go traveling and you get an infection. But most chronic disease, I would venture to say pretty much all chronic disease, very few are just randomly genetic. It's like accumulated things that we've been ignoring over the course of our life. And Western medicine just does not have the answer. I mean, I went to 7 years of medical training and got zero education in what to do if a woman was chronically tired, other than basic, labs. And then if she didn't fit into the basic lab box, she was told she was fine. And so then you have women either thinking there really is something wrong with them mentally, and they're kind of told it's probably just anxiety, just depression. And you end up with what we have now, 1 in 4 women on an antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication or any number of medications. And sometimes they're necessary, but most of the time they're not.
And what do you think are those things that get people to that place? So, like can you speak to them a little bit? Because in your book you talk about it can be emotional triggers. It can be, one thing I thought you said was really interesting was that food triggers in a different sense. I think when we think food triggers, we think, oh, I'm allergic to nuts. And that's a food trigger. But what you said was that it could actually be a lack of nutrition.
Exactly.
That can actually be what causes stress on the body. And I think people don't think about that. I was just in LA running around and I forgot to eat, and so I grabbed like a natural licorice that was in my friend's cupboard, and that was all I had until dinner. And I think women tend to do that, especially women tend to do that, because they think about food as calories, so they think I'll just grab something during the day and I'm fine not eating until dinner. And I think we don't think about the kind of stress that adds to the body. And we don't think about food as information. We think about it as, purely an energetic exchange.
Yeah, it's a working machine all throughout the day that you need to be feeding that good energy in order for it to do all of its functions.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different triggers that can get this whole system activated, the stress adrenal system, and it's anything that causes inflammation or anything that's causing us to be undernourished. And, I think a lot of it, I'm pretty convinced that pretty much all American women have some form of disordered eating, where we're thinking too hard about our food.
Well, and also we have all of this marketing.
Yeah, we're bombarded with media
telling
about
us what to eat.
or what
you should eat Sakara Life.
Well, and the grocery store is not your friend.
No, even, no disrespect, I love Whole Foods, but you can go into Whole Foods even and get
fooled into thinking
and the really interesting thing,
cheese and cracker dinner.
Yeah, and studies are really interesting that show that when you think you're eating healthy food, you actually eat more of it. So you're more likely to overeat something that's packaged as healthy than the regulars, which is a whole other story. But I think thinking about food, as you said, as information is the most powerful thing. And what information am I giving to my body right now? And there are certain things that I don't even call food anymore. I just call them non-food junk. So processed sugar, processed flour, bad quality oils, they are actually toxic for us. And pretty much even a small amount. I mean, if you're 99% healthy all the time and you're stuck at the airport and all you can get is that muffin. Okay, once in a blue moon, you'll be fine.
Sometimes you gotta do it.
Exactly.
Sometimes I have to do it when I travel.
Danielle
really tries not to. But.
I always find it's easier when I'm going somewhere from home, but then on the return trip, I don't always have time to go to the store and get stuff. Thankfully, a lot more airports have stuff, and you can get nuts or whatever if you're not truly allergic. But it's hard. So it's like, what are we putting in that we think about as food that really isn't, and that's actually causing our body inflammation? But we also know, as you just said, so many of us are skimping. Like the World Health Organization, which is like the major global nutrition information we have from them, was that something like 70% of Americans are completely deficient in magnesium. We know that we're deficient in essential fatty acids. We know that we're not vitamin D, iodine, all super important for our immune system, our brain functioning. And we know that even amongst the healthy of us, unless we're being really conscious of it, we're getting about 1/10 of the amount of vegetables we need a day to get not just nutrition,
Yeah.
but these things called phytochemicals
Yes.
that fight inflammation and detoxify. And so a lot of it is just that, our bodies are amazing and we can adapt to so much. But what's happened in the past 50 years to our food, to our stress, and then in the past 15 years with
Yep.
social media and access to internet and technology, we've now accelerated past our ability to adapt. All the adapting we've been doing for millions of years. And our ancestors had less exposures, but were getting plant food all the time.
Right.
So they were detox.
Yeah.
They were sleeping normal hours.
And like with like the normal like rhythm of night and day.
Exactly.
And that stress response was very different because it was like if a saber-toothed tiger was coming after you.
Which
not
hopefully
because,
only happens every once in a while.
yeah, not because it was, email after email and you're sitting in bed with your phone.
It's nonstop. It's here in your lap
Exactly.
all the time.
And that's what the book is
Yeah.
basically about. It's about all the forms of overwhelm that we need to learn how to adapt to, because the things that we're dealing with aren't going away. It's not like, Google's going to say we're going to, or Facebook's going to do like, okay, we're shutting down at 9 o'clock at night, so all Americans
Taking a
get
day
sleep,
off.
right?
Yeah.
This is not going to happen.
Yeah.
And our environment's not going to change. The 80,000 chemicals that are circulating are not going to get cleaned up
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Right.
They're going to persist. So how do we now adapt and
Yes.
evolve? And we have to, in some ways, go back to some of the traditional
Yes.
practices that we were hardwired for. And that means really we do need 7 hours of sleep at least a night. We really do. 1 hour of loss of sleep can totally jack your cortisol. Your cortisol's jacked. Well, and that's the thing. If it happens once in a while,
Yeah.
but if it's every day, that's the problem. But
Right.
you can adapt and reset, adapt and reset. But if
Right.
it's adapt, it's like, I think of it like
like
elastic,
fatigue.
Like
Yeah.
elastic, you can stretch it and it'll keep going back. But at
Until
some point, it doesn't.
It stops. Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, and food is just a huge piece of it. And it's not just what we take out, it's what we get in, and it's also when we're eating and how we're eating. Like, I honestly believe that sitting around, like, you're eating your healthy food, but you're worrying about it.
Yeah.
That doesn't help you digest it.
I know. That was one thing that was so important to me when we started Sakara was, I wanted to make sure people didn't feel like this was a diet because I knew, I had my own experience with dieting. And it just, it's this vicious cycle because you're taught that food is the enemy. You're taught that less is more if you want to get any results. And it just teaches you to, feel guilty if you ever, fall off the wagon.
Yeah.
So we never
Which is kind of an addiction expression, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
right, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't even. There is no wagon to fall off of. It's just life, and you're supposed to do the best you can. And I think especially in this time, that it's so important to have guides. It's like what you're speaking to is there's so much information out there. There's inevitably these toxins. There's so much out there, but having a guide to help you move through life, so you feel like you have all the tools. Is so
I love your
important.
guys' principles, the Sakar principles, and I quote you guys. I don't know if you found it yet.
No, I didn't find it.
Yeah, I forgot. I should have looked to see what page ahead of time, but it's your quote that we don't believe in counting our calories, we believe in counting our blessings.
Yes.
I love that. I put that in there.
It's so
thank
important. Yeah, so I think this is a good segue to level 2, which
Yeah.
we worked with Dr. Aviva Romm on this. So for those of you that don't know about level 2, we just launched it last week. It's for subscribers only, and it is an expert level meal delivery program where we take out the inflammatory causing foods that Aviva's talking to.
Kind of like we talked about the noise, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's
the noise in the
yeah.
system.
So it's like you have your everyday Sakara that's delicious and good and incredibly healthy for you. But then level 2 is a step up. So we take out all fruits, absolutely no sugar, no nightshades, and no nuts.
And no grains.
And no grains. And then we focus on, sort of, I like how you talk about rebuild, repair. So we really talk about rebuilding and repairing the gut, making sure we're flooding your body with all the nutrients. And then we give you a probiotic kefir to help, get the
Heal the gut.
microbiome back in balance. And then at night, we created this amazing medicinal broth. So it's 25 different adaptogenic herbs, medicinal
Roots.
mushrooms and roots, and we put them in this big sachet, and we steep it overnight to make this broth. And then you also get supplements, so morning pack and an evening pack. Yeah, all in a hope to really help you feel like you're hitting the reset button.
Yeah, take away some of the stressors that you're talking about. certain things that you might not even realize you have going on in your daily life, and just give the digestive system a chance to relax, not have some of those things that maybe you have a little sensitivity to, but you can manage on the day-to-day. But when you have it every single day, it starts to build up, like you're talking about. So giving it a break so that things can heal itself, and then you can go back to your everyday Sakara life.
Yeah, it's almost like stripping back so you can figure out what for you individually is the noise. And it's exactly the same as the first week of the program in the book, which, you know, I think all three of us were so careful. We don't want anyone to feel like they're restricting. And so one of the things we've talked about is there's a difference between a therapeutic approach, which is level 2, or the first week of the program, and then there's life, right? There's Sakara life, or there's what I call the replenish life, which is how do we stay nourished? But sometimes when you're struggling with symptoms, you don't know what the trigger is. So pulling out the most common things. It's not like you guys or I picked in my book just random things. These are the things that we know from science that are the most common inflammatory triggers: dairy, gluten, the nuts, the nightshades, sugar, etc. Fruit even, because you can get tricked into, fruit is so healthy, but you can get a lot of sugar that way. And some people are fructose intolerant, and they don't know that's what's causing their bloating or sugar cravings or fatigue or brain fog. So I think it's really about how do we find out what's the trigger for you or me or somebody else.
Yeah, and the way we talk about it is like it's about sort of rebalancing the gut. So like I know for a long time, like if I had certain sugars, like I'd get bloated, but it was because like my microbiome was totally out of whack. So one thing that we focus on in level 2 is completely like rebuilding and rebalancing the microbiome, like flooding the body with all the plant fiber that the good bacteria needs, pairing that with like medicinal mushrooms and the adaptogenic herbs, and then on top of that, a really powerful probiotic, because that makes, you know, the biggest difference. And we have so many clients that deal with bloat. Like the 2 top questions we get are, how do I get rid of my bloat? And, you know, I want more energy.
And it sounds like, you know, if you're taking care of your adrenals and your thyroid and your gut, which you're also an expert in gut health, then you know that's how you're going to reduce your bloat and have more energy.
Yeah, you know, some of the things in life are harder to do, right? We can't just sort of, if you have a high-powered, high-pressure job, or you have a job and kids, you can't just turn it off. But one thing that you really do have control over, and a lot of control over, is what's going on in your gut. And your gut is, you can reset your gut and reset your life. And I've seen it happen. I ran a program with 6,000 women in the fall. The transformation was incredible. And all we focused on was this same kind of diet you guys are doing in the level 2. Super simple digestive supplements, probiotic. I mean, women were sleeping better. Their bloat was gone. Their cravings were gone. I mean, but also things like they were coming off of antidepressants and anxiety medications, and their sleep got better. And it's fast. I mean, it can happen in a week. It's really amazing.
And I think the exciting part is that we have the tools, you know, that it's not this sort of obscure thing where you think, I don't know what I have and I don't know what I need to take for it, and you get a prescription and you don't really know what it means and what it's doing for you. Like the exciting part of all of this and all of this sort of, you know, science coming out about the microbiome is that we do have the power to heal ourselves, you know? We do have the power to make decisions that help us feel better every single day.
And doing it with real foods and things that aren't weird and foreign and made in a lab.
And finding your guides, like your guides, the people that you trust to like help you feel better, because there's a lot of noise out there.
Oh yes,
so much noise.
I have to sift through it all.
That's how I ended up on a water fast.
Do we have time for any questions? Or are we going to be answering questions later on the night? Okay, so if you have questions, we see there's a lot of people writing in. Thank you so much for watching. Squeeze this way just a little bit. There we go. There she is.
Check out Dr. Aviva's book.
Be sure
Adrenal
you
Thyroid
check this out.
Revolution.
Follow her on Facebook, Dr. Aviva Romm, and on Instagram too.
Can I give the address to get
Yes,
the book? Okay,
yes.
so if you want to get the book, just go to avivaromm.com/book bonus, and there are also some super amazing bonus gifts. There's a replay of a really amazing live event that I did with Gabby Bernstein about fear to abundance. There's a cookbook and a really amazing free course that I'm going to be doing, looking at how the adrenals not only affect our body, but affect our outlook on life and our sense of whether life is on our side or life is against us.
Amazing.
So that's all free with one purchase of the book.
Cool.
So go check it out, and we will answer some of those questions later online. But thanks for following along. We'll see you
Thank
next
you.
time.